Now, my guess is you probably have not encountered a boss that said, "You're working so hard, please stop. Oh, that's terrible. What are you thinking? Slow down. Are you crazy?" Right? If you have that boss or have had that boss, keep that job, right? It's one of the reasons I've been here 8 years. Here's the thing. You may not have a boss that insists that you stop working, but you do have a God who does. There was this growing sense of anxiety that sat inside of me as I sat in Pastor Jeff's office. It was my first year here on staff, and at the time I was over student ministry, and it was summertime. And if you didn't know, summertime in student ministry is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because school's out, which means kids are available. And so you have all this time to spend with students. You can deepen your relationship with them, go on retreats with them, talk to Jesus with them. You have all this opportunity to spend with them. And it's a curse because now you have moved away from the regular rhythm and routine of the school year, which means that now early mornings can be spent with students and late nights and weekends and so on and so forth. It's wonderful and it's exhausting. Summertime is the most exhausting time of the year in student ministry. It just is. And so here I am. I've been on staff for just a few months, and I'm sitting in Pastor Jeff's office. I'm new, and of course, I have that thing when you're meeting with the boss, and it's one of your first times doing it. You want to impress him, right? You want to show your value, your worth, that you've been working really hard. And so as we're talking and this conversation's going, I'm trying to find this way to communicate how hard I've been working, but also tell him the whole truth, which is that I was tired. In fact, at this time, I had gone something like 24 days in a row without taking a full day off of work. Nonstop, not 8-hour days every single day, but I was doing a few hours of work at least every day in the busyness of summer and all the opportunity that was there, and I was worn out. And so, we're just talking and we're having this conversation, and I just casually find a way to slip that bit of information in of, I've just been working for over 3 weeks straight. But Jeff's reaction is what surprised me. He wasn't impressed. He didn't commend me for my hard work. No. He was concerned. "Brian, when are you taking time off?" "Oh, Pastor Jeff, I'll get to that in a week or two. I'll figure out." "No. Tell me the dates. You will not be working." I couldn't leave his office until I gave him at least one day that I was going to take off. Now, my guess is you probably have not encountered a boss that said, "You're working so hard, please stop. Oh, that's terrible. What are you thinking? Slow down. Are you crazy?" Right? If you have that boss or have had that boss, keep that job, right? It's one of the reasons I've been here 8 years. Here's the thing. You may not have a boss that insists that you stop working, but you do have a God who does. Good morning. My name is Brian Butcher. I'm the associate pastor here on the Hill. So good to be with you in worship. Today is week 2 in our Sabbath series, a series we are unpacking the Sabbath practice here on the Hill. We are talking about what is almost certainly the most ignored of the 10 commandments given to us in Scripture. The idea is pretty simple. The Sabbath is a day that is designed for us to do 4 things: to stop, rest, delight, and to worship. And in fact, that's how you can translate the word Shabbat, where we get Sabbath. You can translate it those 4 ways: stop, rest, delight, and worship. And that's the themes that we're going to cover over the next 4 weeks, starting this week. So here's the challenge. We are trying to figure out, how do we implement this ancient practice into our modern lives? And the idea behind this is not that we just need one more spiritual thing to do. Right? Our to-do list, spiritual and otherwise, are already too long with too many things on it. But the simple idea is that we believe here on the Hill, we hold this core value that we express through saying transformation is greater than information. Transformation is greater than information. So here's what can happen in this series. We can talk about Sabbath for 5 weeks and we go, "Oh, wow," and we learn more about what the Bible says about Sabbath. And that would be nice. That would be good. Might be a little bit helpful. But here's what would be better. Not that we have more information about what the Bible says about Sabbath, but that we begin to actually practice it and experience the transformation that comes when we put this information into practice in our lives. That is the invitation before us in this series. That's where the transformation happens. That's, I would say, is what we are designed to do, but there's something in us that just resists it. In fact, it was in the late 1700s during the French Revolution where in this time of turmoil in the country, the people didn't want anything to do with royalty, nothing with the royals. And so their decision was actually to get rid of the 7-day work week. The thought process was the royals worship the Christian God and they get their 7-day work weeks from their faith. We're going to get rid of the 7-day work week because we don't want anything to do with the royals or even their religion. So we're going to go to 10 days of work. No days off. 10 days on, no days off. They kept up this practice for 13 years within the country. 10 days on, no days off. And I have to imagine the hope behind that was, one, to distance themselves from their king and their queen's faith, but two, also maybe they thought they'd be as a nation more productive, become a world power, all of those things as well. But instead, what they found was that throughout those 13 years, depression and suicide skyrocketed. It backfired. In fact, things went so poorly that when Napoleon comes and he takes power over France, at everyone's relief, he reverted back to the 7-day work week. Not because he was trying to honor God, but even a dictator could go, this is nuts. This is too much. Oh, we need to rest. We need a break. And the fact of the matter is that I know that happened centuries ago, but even today we have the same kind of cultural obsession with work. We're fixated on productivity. We are driven by career achievement. And there's something in our society that I think, if we were honest, for most of us, we should be able to look at and go, something about this is a little bit sick. Something's wrong. This isn't helping us. This is actually hindering us. And if it was a challenge for centuries ago, today we face a new challenge. I mean, work isn't just something that stays at work anymore. It's now with us on our phones. I can check my work email any time of day or night. It travels with me. That little device, it sends notifications to me constantly. It wants to keep me at work. Plus, we all feel that internal pressure in our culture to keep up with the Joneses. We want to look like we have a certain lifestyle that's fitting for our community and culture. And so I want to have the right house and the right car and look the right way and play the part that I'm supposed to play so that people see me and they're impressed and they think good things about me. There's this temptation to accumulate more stuff or to drive and to climb the ladder at work. We want the corner office, the title, the position, and the finances that come with it. All of these things are tempting us to find our value and our identity and our productivity, our work, and our career. And all of that is contributing to a normalized culture of exhaustion and overwork and busyness. And the truth is, we may not officially have a 10-day work week today, but for many of us, we function like we do. We're constantly on the go. Y'all know the saying, it's all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And I would almost say it's all work and no rest. It's all work and no rest. We often work so that we can rest, and you heard Pastor Jeff say this last week, but we're actually designed to rest so that we can work well for the glory of God. This is how God designed all of creation. We read what Moses wrote about this in Genesis chapter 2. God's creation story, he's beginning to outline what things are intended to look like. Genesis 2, verse 1, we read, "So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was completed. And on the seventh day, God had finished his work of creation, so he rested from all of his work. He Sabbathed, that's the word. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because it was the day when he rested from all his work of creation." So that day is where we get the word Sabbath. He Sabbath, and the word literally means, the most true or pure translation means to cease, to stop. He worked and then he stopped, thus creating in the fabric of creation a 7-day work week. Doesn't seem to just be a decent idea. France has already proven when you try to get away from that, it hurts, it's painful, it's not good. This is a rhythm of design for our lives. 6 days on, 1 day off. Creation is designed for us to have a healthy balance between work and stopping, of activity and resting. And not only do we see this designed in creation, as God begins to form his people together, the nation of Israel, he commands them, live according to my design in the book of Exodus. This, again, is what Moses writes. He says, remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Holy meaning set apart, distinct, different than everything else. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. What's the justification? For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the seventh day, he rested. So the question that I keep wrestling with as we talk about this idea of Sabbath, not just hearing about the idea, but actually living it out, is simply this. If God stopped, why can't we? Why is there something inside of me that thinks that I can resist the design of creation? That somehow I'm better than it, or that I can master it, or that my life circumstances make me an exemption to this design? And what comes to my mind, it reminds me that our situation reminds me of Newton's first law of motion, right? An object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by some outside force. That's the idea. For many of us, we've gotten in motion. We work. But the challenge is we don't have anything asking us to slow down. We have external forces trying to speed us up, to keep us in motion constantly. I mean, we live in a culture and in an economy right now that things feel a little bit uncertain. For many of us, the cost of living has gone up significantly over the last few years. And so we're having to work hard just so we can make ends meet. We just want to get the bills paid because groceries are expensive and gas is expensive and things keep adding up. This has become so normal that most folks, or many folks that I know, have a second job, sometimes a whole second career, again, to earn some more money and make ends meet. I had a meeting a couple of months ago with some pastor friends of mine. All of them were working second jobs just to make things work for their family. We're living in this society right now where that's become normalized. Our economy as an external force that's pushing us to more and more work. Our culture is a force that's pushing us to more and more work. We've developed this dynamic where our families are centered around children and grandchildren now more than ever. It's their schedules, it's their academics, it's their sports and their clubs that drive the family. And we spend so much of our free time and all of that money as well trying to support them in these endeavors because they're good and they're fun and they enjoy it. The problem is that kids can't just play baseball anymore. By the time they're 8, they have to join a travel team, spend unending weekends in hotels and tournaments. It becomes not just a sport to play as for fun, it becomes an all-consuming lifestyle you have to completely opt into or you can't be a part of it at all. We want our kids to play sports because they're great, and yet it consumes us if we're not careful. Our culture keeps us in motion. Our religious tradition tends to keep us in motion. I mean, as Protestants, we come from the background known for developing the Protestant work ethic, not the Protestant Sabbath rest. And whether there's an outside force that keeps us in motion, we also have to be honest that there are internal things in our own hearts and lives that tend to keep us in motion. I mean, being productive feels good, doesn't it? We love to cross things off the list. It's wonderful. I mean, who likes idle? Ugh. It's the gear in your car you never want to be in. You want to be on the move. This is how we want to live our lives. We just want to cross things off the list. I wish I could put on a sticky note, rest, just so I could cross it off the list and be done with it and feel good about it. We are wired to stay in motion. And so here's the logic. If we're going to stop, if we're going to slow down when everything in our culture and our society is going to try to keep us in motion, there needs to be a greater force that's going to slow us down. There needs to be something else that's going to get us to stop. But the thing that does that is it's actually not a force. It's not a law or a rule. It's not a commandment, it's a person. It's Jesus of Nazareth who invites you and says things like, "Come to me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." You see, you have a heavenly Father that insists that you stop, because when we don't, our souls are the thing that suffers. I mean, it's the psalmist who wrote, "Be still and know that I am God." But we tend to live staying busy, and then we just try to remember what he's like. I mean, be honest with ourselves. Are you most like Jesus when you're rested or hurried? Do you connect with God best in all of the activity of your life or in the stillness and quiet of your own heart? You see, it's in stopping. It's in our stillness that we know God. It's that place where we hear his voice most clearly. It's there where our souls experience restoration. We are at our wisest when we live life a little more slowly, not when we're in a hurry. We're at most at peace when our lives have some margin in them, rather than our calendars being over full. And I think the truth of the matter is that for so many of us, the spiritual growth that we long for in our lives, the intimacy with God that we crave, but it just always feels like it's a little bit out of reach. The biggest problem for most of us is the fact that we have built our lives to be simply too busy for God. That we just give the author of creation a sliver of our time and we ask him to transform us. But the invitation is to give him a 24-hour practice so that he can redeem the rest of our week, that he can redeem it all. So here's the deal. We're going to spend the next few weeks unpacking those 4 things: stop, rest, delight, and worship. But the first step is we've got to stop. We've got to stop all of this. And I know for many of us, the challenge is this sounds nice, but we just feel like we can't. How do I stop when it just seems like I can't in the midst of everything already going on in my life? And so there's 2 ideas for today, 2 first steps that I want us to take so that we can actually begin to practice this out. Here's the first. Identify the lie. Identify the lie. So again, Sabbath, wonderful in theory, really challenging to practice in our day and age. When we feel like we can't, or we feel like, well, I'm the exception to this rule, because the truth of the matter is there's likely a lie that we are believing under that thought or belief. Like, I am tempted to believe that I can't Sabbath because I've got young kids. I've got small kids, 5 and 2 years old. It makes it hard to stop, fundamentally. The lie is I can't do it. The truth is, functionally, my children make it hard to Sabbath because they don't stop. How do I stop when they don't? All right? And I get that that's the reality. But what's also true is that for millennia, this has been practiced in our culture. In fact, it was only until about the 1970s that even just as a Western culture, Sundays were a day where businesses closed early and people shut things down. It was a family day of rest. Religious practice or cultural practice, either way, it's only in the last 40 years that we've just gone to this nonstop work thing. And if people who from centuries or millennia past had families with 12 kids and they lived this different lifestyle in an agrarian society where they had to work for their food or they weren't going to eat, if they can figure out how to Sabbath with all of that, then I can figure it now with all the modern conveniences of technology that we've got. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's still a challenge, but it's doable. The lie is that I can't do it. The truth is I have, and we all have, unique challenges that we'll face to achieve this thing or to get there in our practice, but it's possible. Or for some of us, the lie that we believe is I can't Sabbath. My company needs me. Here's my question. Maybe they really might. How's that working for you? I mean, really, how's it going? Are you becoming and transforming more like Jesus through your schedule, or is it hindering your faith? I can't answer that, only you can. But I think the invitation is for transformation through rest and stillness in him. Or maybe we feel like, I can't rest. I have to care for a loved one. And their health and their stage of life, mom and dad need me, and I'm on the road back and forth to find them, and I get it. That is an immense challenge to face and to still find time to rest. It can consume all the time that you've got. That's a challenge. All the more reason why we need to slow down and stop so that you can love that loved one in your family most like Jesus because you've taken time to be with him. so that you recognize and remember that God's their caretaker ultimately, God's their provider ultimately, and you tell yourself those truths. If you can't get out, the system's broken, find help so that you can rest and love even better. And then those moments, those days where you're caretaking and you're loving and you're giving of yourself, which resembles Jesus' love and is beautiful, you really look like Jesus because you've spent time working from the place of rest rather than exhausting yourself in the care of that person. So again, identify the lie, search the scriptures, find the truth that we see in the Bible of who God is and what he has promised you. Lean into those things, and you can begin to practice the Sabbath. Second idea, we identify the lie, and the second thing is this: we manage your margin. Manage your margin. So again, once we identify those underlying beliefs that keep us from even approaching Sabbath, we've got to carve out the time. We've got to create the margin in our lives. And I would encourage you, start small. Don't think that you're just going to jump into 24-hour Sabbath like overnight, and that's what we're asking of you. That's nuts. It's like trying to run a marathon without any training, okay? Start small. Carve out an hour of your week and begin there. Then as that becomes normal and routine, stretch it to 3, go to 4, go to 2, whatever you can do. And to be totally transparent, I'm not at the 24-hour Sabbath rest thing yet. I'm not there. But what I have done over the last handful of months, I've lost track of when I started, so let's say 6-8 months, I've started to practice a little bit of time, and I've added a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. So now every week I'm trying to incorporate a 6 to 8 hour Sabbath practice. Now I'm trying to figure out with another family, how do we gather together weekly and do this? How do I begin to practice Sabbath for real in my life? And here's the other thing: is we manage our margin, we carve out the time, we start small. I would encourage you, set up some healthy boundaries in that time to give your soul the margin. Because we probably need to be very clear about our do's and don'ts of what this time ought to look like. The whole objective is that we slow down and we stop so that we can be in the presence of Jesus. So we do the things that enable and encourage that, and we don't do the things that distract us or take away from it. So go out in nature, go for a walk, spend time with God. Don't bring your cell phone. Turn it off, silence it, put it on airplane mode, whatever you've got to do. Get it in another room if you have to. Just separate yourself from it. It's a distraction. Spend time in prayer and in worship, listening to your favorite worship playlist or artists that you love to worship to. Open up the Psalms and read them and delight in God and read the words of David and declare the goodness that he says. All that's good. Don't just throw a load of laundry in really quick because it's just going to take me 15 minutes and I've got to do it. And if I don't have it today, then tomorrow I'm not going to have the shirt that I want to wear to work. Stop. It will be okay. Whatever the thing is that's left undone, you will be okay. Don't believe the lie. You've got to handle it. God will honor you creating the margin in your life to create more space for him. And this is the place. This is the place where we sit in his presence and he actively works to transform our hearts to become more like him. So here's the deal. Today's real simple. We're going to identify the lie. We're going to manage our margin. And we're going to rest in this one key idea. You may not have a boss or a culture or even an internal disposition that insists that you stop, but you do have a God who does.